Well, hello, welcome to week 6, I think, of the Maestro Writers Course, the Symphonic Book Creation, and whatever the heck we're calling this now. My name is Christel Crawford. I'm a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness, and this week we are, for the rest of the 3 months that we're doing this course, we are featuring writers. And I have the great honor and privilege to be featuring my brother this week.
Hi.
Hi. So Bryce Crawford is a writer. He's been a writer for the Colorado Springs. He's probably been a writer since he was born, but in recent years has been a professional food critic writer for the Colorado Springs Indie, which is an independent newspaper in Colorado Springs, well known for its cheeky flair and creative edge. He fit right in, and as I got to know him through his writing, I was like, not only one of his biggest fans, I'm sort of a closet fan, but I'm just really impressed at like the style of his writing and how he could draw you in and make you laugh. Food writers aren't supposed to be able to do that, and he did. He's also a recent creator of the Rocky Mountain Food Report, which is his own independent food report on the food of the Rocky Mountain region, and has made a go of that as well. Now, it's a bit of a startup, so it's got its ebbs and flows, and I'm sure adventures with it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Bryce Crawford.
Hi, yay!
So,
thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we'll be here all night.
Calm it down.
So, hi, Bryce.
Hi.
And I'd like to also preface this by saying this is probably the first time Bryce and I have had a real conversation in a number of years. So a lot of the information and conversation we're going to be having over the next hour is new to me as well. So welcome.
I'm so pleased to be here.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about, I guess, how the writing thing developed for you? Even as your sister, I don't even know the story. So like, when and where did you discover this love of writing? How did that all sort of shape up?
It kind of snuck up on me, I guess. For a long time, I thought I didn't have these stories like, oh, I used to write stories as a kid. But then I realized I actually did write stories as a kid. So that was sort of a nice revelation. I sort of felt like I wasn't, I was missing a piece of the writer ethos. So I guess I used to write as a kid. I remember some stuff. But really it was, 15 years in between this and that, and I ended up in college, where at the same time I'd always liked the weekly newspaper, the Indie, so that was always something I was interested in. But I was in college in a comp course, and a teacher there who freelances for the newspaper tapped me to edit her arts journal. It was called Almagre, which I think is another name for Pikes Peak, which is, I'm in Colorado Springs. So I edited this arts journal for 2 years. And then I submitted multiple applications for an internship at the newspaper. The first one they completely ignored, those assholes. The second one, I got in, I got an interview, and I found out on my birthday that I got the internship. So I was editing this journal at the same time, and I got this internship at the newspaper. Basically, I ended up working for free for like 10 months. I did 2 internships back to back, and just kept trying to make myself indispensable. And it was like really, really interesting job. It was very much unlike the corporate culture I was coming out of. So I loved that. And now I miss it now that I'm out of it, but that's fine. Hello, fourth person.
We will have joiners as we keep going.
Excellent. So I did the internship, and eventually they started a marijuana news column because marijuana is very big in Colorado. So they were selling ads. And so they also started a column to support the advertising. So I was writing the column, and then I started writing restaurant criticism because I had expressed interest in that. And I ended up writing everything except music, and helping them introduce new columns and new ways to look at things. So it was really fruitful. But it started with a connection at college.
So what do you love about writing? Because it sounds like actually when you got into the Indie, the newspaper, that you got your jobs or your assignments based on things that you were interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make it easier to write?
It's way easier to write about things you're interested in.
Kind of a
things
dumb
you're not interested in. I'm also a freelancer right now, so now I routinely write about things I'm not interested in, and it's really boring. But but yeah, I mean, things you're interested in, you're going to ask better questions about and get more into and think more creatively about, and you're going to sound more excited. And as you know, if you're excited about something, writing it, the person reading it is also going to be pretty excited about it too.
So when you're writing about stuff that you're not interested in, like, so you're free, can you talk about the freelancing and what you're doing now, and an example of like stuff you're not interested that you make interesting for you?
Yeah, and it's probably interesting to other people, but it might not be interesting.
Well, no, but that's important, right? Like, because I find like that's actually where most of my Facebook posts come from. Like, it's if I'm having a moment, and it's that moment fuels the words that come out of my mouth, right? Like, whereas if there's no energy around it for me, I'm like, I kind of have nothing to say.
Yeah. Oh, so I freelance for this Colorado Springs magazine, and they wanted a big feature on local beer. And local beer is so boring to me. I love beer, but I'm so tired of writing about it. I'm so tired of covering it. I'm so tired of like how exciting everyone finds it. And this is all of that wrapped into one. It was like a perfect microcosm of all the things I'm bored writing about beer. It's like, oh my God, do I seriously have to? But okay, so I did. So was the question how you go ahead and write it anyway?
Yeah, so like when you have a piece like that where you're like, you just expressed exactly how you feel about it. So what do you do to make it interesting to you?
I try and write about the parts that are interesting, that stand out. You know, I guess I look at my knowledge of the scene and try and find the things that stand out from that, and pick out the parts that I do like, as far as I can get excited about it at this point. I mean, a whole lot of being a professional writer is just faking interest in things. So it's not that hard. Yeah, I mean, because at the newspaper, you end up writing all kinds of different things. I'd write these little calendar blurbs for events I didn't really want to go to, but you just take an active tone, and if you communicate clearly, you can fake energy. So.
Okay, well, you talk about that a little bit. Okay, so like if you're writing about an event that you have no interest in, where do you go in your psyche or your energy level? Like, where do you pretend to be somebody who's interested, or where do you go?
No, it's just kind of, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. It's sort of like, it's a little bit like donning a persona, I guess. So maybe it is like being someone who's interested in it, but it's just sort of like, I don't know. I just type it out. It's an upbeat thing. It's like, hey, if you're going to do this thing, do it like this, because here's an interesting fact, and here's when it's happening, and better be there. So, it's almost the momentum of the thing can carry it, but it's not so bad. It's weird to look into the how.
I know, and I knew this conversation would be a little bit weird, because it's like some of the stuff you just do and you don't even know how or why you do it.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to kind of look at that after. It's like, what do I do? And if I were going to teach other people to do what I do, what would I tell them?
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I'm not teaching them, because I would just say, I would do this a lot and then this.
So did you ever have a thing where you felt like you couldn't get paid for your writing, or you just never had that point of view?
If I didn't have any experience in the industry, I could definitely see why it would seem, I don't know about impenetrable, but it would seem weird, or it would seem like hard to crack into. I still am not, exactly sure how to break into certain parts of it. Like, I also don't want to, but like national magazine writing is something I probably could do, but it's also something I have no interest in. But it's a little opaque because you really have to know someone. And they have to know you, and you have to have examples of your work. I mean, there's a lot of people who want to write professionally and a lot of people who can't or shouldn't. And so you winnow that down to the few who can and should. And a lot of that is just having examples of your work. So it would suck, but it's kind of like if you have your own blog or you have your own writing, if you have something that you're trying to break into professionally, I would start treating it like you would if it was a job. And so you at least have this body of work to point to. It may or may not be the difference maker, but it's really going to go further than just saying, oh, I really like to write, and here's some things I wrote in college, and the blog I have about the time I got dumped. I don't know.
Yeah, well, one of the things you said that stood out to me was like treat it like a job.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of us creative types, we tend to like treat our writing as the thing we do when we get inspired, which is not actually what you do when you have a job writing. When you have a job writing, you actually have stuff that you have to create. So can you speak more about that? Like, so what is that? I don't know. What's that like? Because none of us have a job writing, right? So we're all like, well, we want to write a book and we want to write blogs and we'll do it when the mood hits. And so what's the difference, do you say? And when you have a job writing, what is that like? And what do you have to do with your mind space to keep creating?
You sure as hell cannot depend on being in the mood. You can't do that. You can't do that with anything you're trying to do professionally or get results out of. So it's hard with motivations. Like, so I'm not still at the newspaper right now, and I still have my website, and now I'm working a new full-time job. And it's like, what kind of motivations or what kind of time do I have for my website? And I'm finding it very hard right now to write for my website because I just don't want to. I get home and I'm tired and I feel like I'm recuperating. But to keep that as something that has any value, I'll have to just do it anyway. I mean, which is almost always the answer to most things. It's like, you just do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's, and like, so fiction writers will talk a lot about having dedicated time frames where, they will write no matter what. It'll be something, it'll be terrible, it'll be writing about how they can't think of anything to write about, but they'll do it every single day. And they say the only difference between, an author and someone else is the author writes. A writer writes. That's like a trope, Mm-hmm. If you don't write, you're not a writer. If you write, you're a writer. If you don't want to write, you write anyway. It's like, how do you find the motivation to write anyway? I guess it's various ways. You've got some end goal or you're working on something.
And listen, you guys can jump in at any time here. I'm having I'm just chatting with them. So at any time you have a question, just jump in and unmute yourself.
My hat is crooked if you guys are looking at that and wondering.
And if that's been bugging you, everything that is times a godzillion, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all night shorts, boys and beyonds, welcome to the clearing statement, Bryce. I'm kidding anyway. Wow, I had a question. What?
What did you just say?
So that's the clearing statement in Access Consciousness. It's right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. It's actually it's sort of a magic wand, meaning words have energy. So there's a whole website on it. You can go check it out. But yeah, so basically, if anything gets in your way, what you can do is you can bring up the energy of it, and you can choose to destroy and uncreate the energy and then clear it out. So it's like having a dilapidated house on a piece of property that you want to build something on, and you need to get that house out of the way before you can actually create something new. So it's really effective. It's worked really well for me. Look at my face. It just looks great, right? Like,
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful.
It worked really well. Yeah. And we've all got really cool stories around the Access tools. So that's why we use them, and but one of the things we use the Access tools for in this whole writing thing is actually getting ourselves out of our way. It's like looking at what do you actually want to create with your writing, with your life, etc. And I get that you chose that without these tools, right? Like a lot of us use these tools to get to the point, to be able to choose what it is we'd like to do. And what I think is so cool about you is that you chose what you want to do anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so like do you have a sense of where it is you'd like to take so can you talk a little bit about your blog, your food blog, and what the vision was and how it's developing and maybe where you want to take it? And you might not know, but maybe just...
Sure. So covering food was always my favorite thing to do at the newspaper. And I always wrote about a ton of different stuff. You wear 15 different hats. It's a small staff, but I always liked food was the best. And also food in Colorado Springs is developing a lot. It's like solidly 10 years behind Denver, and Denver is pretty close to the national edge. But so it's coming along and it's getting exciting, and I really like it, and I really like covering it, and I really thought I could sell ads covering it, and I could do it well. And it was also kind of a fuck you to the indie because
we love fuck yous around here.
Excellent. Because it was just sort of like, I also had to rework my motivations, because once the fuck you stopped being enough, it was like, well, what do I really want?
What do I actually want? Yeah.
It better be doing something for me if I'm going to keep doing it. So, but yeah, I mean, I just really wanted to keep within the scene and keep the contacts I had made, and keep going to the events I was getting invited to, and just keep that part alive, because I was pretty worried about quitting in the sense that I would lose my identity.
Yeah.
Which kind of has happened. So I was right to worry about it. But it wasn't debilitating.
Yeah. So when you look at where you'd like to take it, do you have a sense of it?
No, I don't. Well, I don't know where I would do it. I don't know if I want to take. I don't know where I would. I don't know what that question means.
Yeah.
Where I would take it, I want to keep doing it, and I want to grow it and add events and sponsorships and writers and ad dollars. And
can you talk about how you do that? Because I don't know that any of us actually. For you, this is like normal language. For us, we're like, oh wait, every single thing you're saying needs like a paragraph or two.
Okay, so like sponsorships, I would trade.
Like how do you create a food critics? I mean, obviously, like you had already created a presence with your presence at the Indie. I got that, and so did that contribute to the creation of this site and advertisers saying, "Yeah, we'll back you"?
Definitely. I had a reputation and a name recognition I was able to trade on. I honestly, with food though, I don't think you would need that to be effective. You would just need to keep posting content. You would just need to keep creating content because you build your own name in food. Anyone who's interested in food, which is almost everyone, is just interested in the content. They don't care where it comes from. They just want something new or interesting that they didn't know about things they already care about. So anyone can do that. You just have to do it with regularity. So I guess as far as like a sponsorship or something, it would be like, so I have this involved a whole lot of different partnerships. So like there were other people that quit the newspaper that I partnered with that helped me start my website, and they helped me build my logo and helped me figure out how to get ad slots on there. None of this stuff that I know myself, and all of it, I built this real sense of community after I quit, or developed this real sense of community because you depend on a lot of people when there's no organization. So I might trade like an ad slot for my logo on a food event and a table there where I could promote my website. Or there's an event coming up in March where I'm going to judge cocktails, and this is stuff I've done in the past. I've judged cocktail events or food competitions. So I'm going to keep doing that kind of stuff, and so I can get my website out there. And then advertising has been a very weird thing because I never did ad sales. I never handled that side of things. So it was a lot of learning selling and customer service and how to get the ad on there and contracts, and no one wants to pay on time, so don't depend on the money. But so it was stuff like that.
So moving forward, I guess it really is getting a sense of what you want to create with it, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess I don't have an end goal other than to do it, which is, I mean, when you're at the newspaper, it's sort of a similar concept. You're just doing it every day, and so I was just doing more of that.
Every day-ish. Yeah.
Yes. At this point, it's been less, but it's always there for me. So
that's cool. I feel like I have 1,000 questions that don't have words. Does anybody have any questions around this whole thing, or for Bryce, or about life in general?
Yeah.
Right, the writing life.
You got like 2 or 3 answers.
I brought on the most knowledgeable person on the planet, so you might want to just pipe up.
Check that out. All right.
Cricket. No. Okay. So, talk to me, Bryce. Talk to me about what you love about writing. What the process is for you. Like, you are actually one of the funniest people I've ever read. All of your writing. I mean, if you're just covering food, like, it's just smart. But some of the stuff you write, like, makes me laugh out loud, and it actually takes quite a bit to make me laugh out loud to writing. So, when you're composing an article, like, is there a process that you go through? Like, do you just start blabbing it all out and then editing it, or what's your writing process?
Well, so like some people will do like outlines, or they'll need to really get real linear with their thinking ahead of time. I mean, so like they say like clear writing, or like good writing is clear thinking, or good writing is good thinking, right? Because you're just thinking on the page, which is why criticism is so, hard to take, because it's like so personal. But my process has always just been to do it as I go along. I don't script or anything. But if it's like a story, I'll be thinking about leads in the shower, or it'll just be percolating in my mind about how I want to approach something. And usually something will rise to the top. Like in Mad Men, Don Draper says, think about something really hard, forget it, and then a solution will rise to the top. And I think it kind of looks like that. And then I edit as I go, and then my copy is usually pretty clean. It's pretty tight. But what does that
mean? What does that mean, clean and tight? What are you talking about? Break down your lingo.
So like this is only because I had a really good editor, and he's the one who quit and changed everything. But you spend a lot of time making sure like your subjects and I don't know grammar. I just know when it works.
Fine.
But like your subjects agree with your sentences, and everything flows together, and your punctuation is right, and there's no errors, and it's not run on, and it makes sense. So I'm pretty good at that. I think pretty linearly and literally, which are both good in writing, because you need to be explicit and you need to be clear. And then if you can throw in interesting and all kinds of other stuff, you can go pretty far with it. But my process is just to sit down and put it down. And I don't think that's everybody's. I think I also usually write faster than a lot of people and work faster than other people. So I think I've just kind of a unique experience. I don't know.
It runs in the family, my friend.
Excellent. Excellent.
It's a conversation I have with many people. How do you do what you do so fast? I don't know how to tell you that. Like, it's in the genes.
You just start at the beginning and you just do it all to the end.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, like my writing process is actually very similar. But for me, it's always like sort of based on inspiration, which is why I was kind of asking you, like, what Elizabeth Gilbert talks about. She's somebody I really admire, and she did the book Big Magic, and she's not the only one, but she definitely talks about, sitting down every day and doing the work of writing. And my resistance to that has always been that I never wanted writing to be a work. I wanted it to be like this,
Yeah.
And so as I'm creating my book, well, I've got like 6 books. I don't know, different pieces. It's like, what does it take to actually get a completed work out? And I'm getting, well, it actually takes sitting down and writing, like writing those 200, 500 words a day at a minimum and letting them be whatever they are. So have you played with writing anything, I don't know, longer than an article or stringing it all together? Or have you done that yet?
I've never, probably the longest thing I've written is about 4,000 words. So, no, I've never written a book or a short story. I really do want to write fiction, but I never write enough bad fiction to write good fiction. So I just stop at the beginning. I stop before I've started because I never want to do the work to get good at it because I feel so crappy about the bad work.
So cool. So actually, Bryce, this is for you and everybody else. I was reading Stephen King. He's got a really cool book on writing, and I just downloaded it on my Kindle. Have you read that yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so no, it wasn't him. It was a little video by Ira Glass. All my shit's confused in my head. There's a 2.3 minute video from Ira Glass, and he talks about like writing, like just write every day, just commit to yourself to write a short story every week. And he's like, because in the beginning you're going to do a lot of really bad work. It's just, you're going to have really good intentions, the energy is going to be there, but it's just going to be really bad. So just commit to yourself to writing a bad story every single week, and then just keep doing it and keep doing it. And someday, he's like, you're going to be good. He's like, and he goes on to say, like, it took me longer than most, but it won't take you that long, but just, keep doing that. So
I think he says like the same instincts that led you to certain work you like will lead you to good work, but you have to put in the time.
See, he's my brother.
Well, and then like Ray Bradbury has said, like every day read a short story, a news story, and a poem, and write one short story every week for a year. And he's like, there's no way on earth you can write, 52 bad short stories. I challenge you to write 52 bad short stories. So start there and go from there. And then you'll have a year's worth to build on.
That would be a great book, 52 Bad Short Stories.
It would be a really hard read.
What would it take?
Might be a bit of a slog.
All right, Ron, new challenge in the group, 52 bad short stories. Seriously. Because I actually find that I stop myself from writing stories because I can't. It stops there. I'm like, I can't write a story. I'm just going to write from my own experience. So do you ever struggle with any of that?
Well, I do when it comes to writing fiction. I could get 2 paragraphs in and hate everything about it, and hate struggling, and hate that I can't come up with anything that doesn't sound cliched and stupid. But when it comes to feature writing or journalism, just probably because I got to practice it so much, that comes a lot easier to me. But I guarantee it's only because I did it every day for 6 years.
Well, and is there something that you found set you apart from other people? Did you, because one of the things I noticed about me, and I'm just curious what it is for you, is that I have I have a knack for noticing like every little thing or the nuances of things that actually flavor my writing. And I noticed that not everybody has that. Like there's some writers that I read where I'm like, everything they're writing is like, oh, they see all the subtleties and the ends, you know what I mean? So did you find that there was something that you had that other people didn't have?
I'm a better writer than most of them.
That's true.
I don't know. I'm a very good listener, and I just think to be a successful journalist, you have to be good at observing details and knowing where those could fit and how to incorporate those. I don't know how to tell somebody to do that exactly, but I think I was just really good at the different jobs, the absorbing a scene, and like I liked describing restaurants and the mood there almost more than I liked describing the food, just to be able to talk about the people and the energy and that kind of thing. So I think I was good at that. But I couldn't tell you how.
So do you have this is a more personal question, but do you have like a cache of like all the stuff that you wrote at the Indie? Because it was brilliant.
Yeah, everything under my name is tagged there still. So
is it? So we can just like Google you and it's all there?
My brilliant work is available for perusal.
It's actually really good, you guys. And if you want to just laugh out loud, I mean, you wouldn't think that you can do that at food stuff, but he's fucking hilarious, and some of this and insightful, and you really describe the energy well. And I find that's not something that a lot of people can do, like describing energy. Like, so what would you, if you were to talk about that without ever having talked about it before?
Right. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it'll be good. What would you say that is? How do you describe energy?
How do you describe energy? I start with adjectives. No. Well, I guess it helps to be sensitive to it at first and recognize what you're feeling. I mean, I guess it's probably subjective. All food criticism is subjective, so you just have to like set that on the shelf. But sensing it, how it's making you feel, and then describing how it's making you feel in ways that are relevant to eating out, if we're just talking about food reviews. I just think a sensitivity to what's happening and an awareness, and being able to put feelings in context, and I don't know, it's a whole lot of soft skills, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Being aware of all the sensations and like what the room is like, and the glow of the lights, and the this and the that, and the friendliness of the people, and like all of the. And that's what I find a lot of people forget to talk about. It's like same thing like when you're talking about writing, like you've got all of this wealth of knowledge that for you summed up in like 5 words, and we're like, but there's like, like pare back the curtain, right? So. Yeah.
Well, so like there's this New York Times food critic, Sam Sifton, who I really like. His parents were poets, and he's got this great approach. But he says that he approaches restaurant criticism like dining out as theater. And so he talks about the players and the setting and the mood and the lines. And I love that because I think eating out, depending on where you're going, generally should be an experience. You're not just getting food. You're being taken away to a place where, your problems are just less problematic, and your food is going to come. You're going to be taken care of for this very short amount of time in a way that is going to be better than if you had just stayed home, depending on where you go. But I don't know, dining out as theater. It also sounds hokey, but
I love it.
Capturing the drama of just sitting in a restaurant is something I really like. And I really like pulling out interesting, scenes from typical things of life. So like I went to this, for AAA magazine, I wrote about this Greeley Railroad Model Train Museum, which sounds super boring and like kind of lame, but it was really cool. But it's like anything. It was cool for what it was. But it was really cool for how into it the people who do it are. And being able to capture, someone else's interest can buffer your own writing. Like if you're not interested in it, effectively communicating how interested someone else is in it is almost the same thing.
Well, so it's like getting interested in their world. It's like, wow, what is that in their world that's got them so fascinated about this thing?
Yeah, and if I can't relate to being interested in trains, I can sure as hell relate to being really interested in something. So it's not that different. So, they really like, I'm like, what do you like about trains? He's like, oh, I like how they're fast. I like the motion. I like they're loud. My dad used to get on a train in Jersey and leave every morning, and I would go, and or I would take the train to school because if I went through the neighborhood, I'd get beat up. It was like this retired Air Force colonel telling me this stuff. It's just like real fundamental stuff. And I think you can track that back with anything. I bet you could pick anything you like and track it back to some real, like 2 or 3 pretty fundamental memories that anyone can relate to, that maybe you don't feel the exact same way, but what it's like to feel interested or alone or scared or happy or relieved by something. And that's how it is with everything. And that's how it is with restaurant reviewing.
That's awesome. I'm just going to sit here and grin at you for a little bit. That's really cool.
So a lot of times
Christel?
Yes.
Can I jump in for a short question? You can't see me because it's in the middle of the night, so I'm here in my PJs. And
go.
It's so interesting listening to you. And what I always wondered, and food is like something very subjective. Mm-hmm. Like, do you go to a restaurant more than once to get like more a broader picture of what it's like? Because if you go there a single time, I figure it could be like a very just a very little view of what's actually going on.
Definitely. We would go twice, which is hugely deficient. If I was going to do it my way, if I had the budget for it, I would visit like 6 times over a 6-month period, or 12 times over a 6-month period or something. We would go twice, which is better than once and not as good as 3 times. So it is. It's definitely a snapshot. It's definitely subjective. It definitely depends on how it went that night. And I think the New York Times will make 6 or 7 visits over certain months. They're the only basically paper in the nation with any kind of budget. Also, like London food critics, London, England food critics are completely insane. It's a blood sport in London. Everybody reads something that will crush someone's soul. Read London food criticism. But,
wow.
So yeah, we make 2 visits, and it's not enough. And it's so I wish we were able to make more. But you're right.
And do you tell them, or is it like a secret? Or
no, the idea is that you're dining, you're trying to test an experience that anyone would have. So you go as, you try and be anonymous, and you definitely don't tell them. And sometimes you get recognized anyway, and they send you things out, and you kind of wish they didn't, but you sort of awkwardly accept. And, but no, ideally you're not found out, and you're able just to write about what it's like to dine there as an average person, because that's who's reading you. That it's just a person wanting to know if this is going to be a big waste of their money or something they should put money into. And that's something I really always tried to honor. I used to get restaurant owners furious at me because I would very directly champion the diner's wallet. They would say, we need 6 months to get open, and it's like, yes, you do need some time to get ready, but you're doing that on the backs of your customers' dollars. And I don't have that many dollars, and I'm not so happy just to give them to you so you can learn what you're doing. It happens. It's just the way it works. But I'm babbling.
No, babble.
So I really don't get the business model behind it, because if you go there and you're anonymous, you have to pay your bills, and if you're dining out in very good restaurants, like I love Michelin stars restaurant, it's not something you just do by the side, because it is really, really costly. And so I'm kind of wondering how you build up a reputation like that, to actually make a business out of it, or to actually learn. It's just, maybe it's just about making money with writing at all, but
okay. Well, the restaurant criticism thing is not something I could have done on my own. I didn't pay for my meals. The newspaper paid for my meals. So they had, if you think about, we would try and spend around $120 once a week for 52 weeks. So I don't know, 6 or 7 grand.
Yeah.
Just 6 or 7 grand out the door with no return. I mean, you might say they got ad sales in return, but generally you have to have a budget for it. So now I'm on my own. I have my own food news website, but I don't do restaurant criticism because I can't pay for it. And as a restaurant critic, I would routinely dine in places that I could not afford otherwise. Or certainly at the rate I was eating at them.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to build up that kind of portfolio, you would have to just do it as you could, which is not to say it has no value. Having something to point to is going to be the biggest, to me, I think it'll be the biggest help to, you need to show someone your work. Someone needs to see what you can do, and they need to see it in a lot of different ways, or, just they need to see it repeated. I can't remember where I was going with that, but making money on your writing is you have to have a body of work to point to first before someone who will pay you to do it will even consider it. And then if you want to do it on your own, you're either selling advertising. People are giving you money in exchange for something. So you might look at selling sponsored stories, but you're going to have an audience. So you have to build your audience first, and you build your audience through consistently creating content they want to read. So it all comes back to, in the end, if you want to do anything, just do it repeatedly.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you. That's brilliant.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Hope that's useful.
That was great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, everything that you're talking about is useful, Bryce, and not because you feel like you're an expert, or because I know you're it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's not that you're being put on the spot. It's that you've done it. And you may not have done it to the degree that this person has or that person has, but you have done it. So I'm grateful that you're just willing to share it all.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll be here all week.
Oh my God. That was my hat.
That's good. Your hat's straight.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions about this, or just about writing in general?
Is it time to show my boobs now?
It's definitely time to show your boobs.
Okay.
Yeah. Now's the time. Thank you. Amen. What do you love about writing?
I almost love having written more than writing.
Tell me more.
Well, it's such a hard thing because you can't have written if you didn't write, but writing itself is so hard. So,
so what do you find hard about it? What's that?
I don't know. You sort of run it I'm constantly thinking in metaphors, so there will be like 15 mixed metaphors in this message.
I love it. It's good.
It's sort of like running at a wall, and then you just sort of like throw yourself against it till it softens up and lets you in. It's like a force. It's a process of force, putting words to page in a way that you keep going, and you leave the words you put on there on the page, and you actually stack them up into something that is a coherent idea. What do I love about that? It's so hard to say. I honestly don't know if I do love it, but I definitely need it and love doing it. I love doing it, but I don't know if I like doing it.
So is it like oxygen? It's like you like that you can have it, but it's just not, you don't know if you love it. It's just like required.
No, I definitely love it. It's just very hard. It's very hard, and it comes at great personal cost, but the product is always, degrees better than what you put into it. The sum is always greater than the parts. So whatever you lost or gave up or contributed or had to go find or had to rip out and put on the page and let it, get its juices all over the corners, and the end product is infinitely better for it. And always the more honest in your writing you are, always the more flaws you can like put down, and then, well, just honesty, which is flaws and successes, always the better the writing is. The more that there's a person behind it, the better it is. And so I guess I really like that. And I really like the sense of accomplishment from knowing I just wrote something awesome, but it's not easy to do. I guess that's just what it is. I love it for sure, but it's not easy to do. So it's not this joyful, just flowing onto the page thing. It's just, it feels like craft, and so definitely I like crafting. I really like tinkering with sentences. I really like feeling like, so like a story to me feels like a puzzle. Like if you grab your interview and you grab out all the interesting pieces and you're like, here's where I'm going to run this actually direct quote, and here's where I'm going to paraphrase, here's where I'm going to add what I know, and here's where I'm going to get snappy. And I just make that up as I go along. But it's like sort of organic. So I really do like that process, actually. It's just really hard.
So what's the hardest part of it for you?
The hardest part of writing?
What's
the hardest part of breathing? I don't know.
That's why I'm asking you.
Well, okay, so a hard thing is personal honesty. Like depending in journalism, this may or may not be relevant, because you're generally writing about things that have nothing to do with you. You don't want to make yourself the story, is sort of this practice. But I don't know. I think personal honesty is always hard, or being able to write about something that you didn't do well, or that you're not proud to have done, or being able to incorporate a feeling like that into your writing is, well, if you incorporate it, you're probably doing just displaying a whole lot of empathy. And I think empathy in writing is a lovely thing. It gives people a place to enter. You're looking for like entry points in stories, and there's like physical one, there's like visual ones where like, like bold lines are entry points, and captions under stories are entry points, or capitalized first words, drop caps they're called. We see that big first letter, that's a drop cap, that's an entry point. But then there's just also the points where that story means something to you, and a lot of that is emotional, I think, is empathy. And I don't even remember your question.
That's fine. I'm just that's good. That's just what we do. We rabbit trail all the time. Welcome to the ADD Club of America.
Okay,
Canada, the world. It's international. We're all over.
I'd see that. So the hardest part of writing is starting, I guess.
I love that.
That's the hardest part. And keeping going is also very hard. Finishing is kind of hard. But that's just for like style and, like capping it with something good. So, a trick is to refer back to something at the start. So it's this nice little synchronous loop that, is just pleasurable to read. It's kind of a trick, and you kind of know what's happening, and it's pleasurable anyway. It's like flattery that way. Even when you know it's flattery, it still works.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. That's actually something that I do in my all my posts and my blog writing is I'll start somewhere and then I'll take them on a journey and then I actually wrap it up at the end, bringing them back to the beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that till you said that. So that's cool.
People just like that. It's just a pleasant way to experience a story, I think.
Well, it's the same thing in comedy. Like if you go to a stand-up routine, like if the comic in the very beginning of the routine gets on to something and then keeps bringing it back through the routine, it just gets funnier and funnier and funnier that he remembered it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there's just something. So I read about writing fiction a lot, and it's like the human mind craves stories. We love stories. They help us make sense of things. And I'm always like, I can't write an original story. And over there are examples. It's like, you don't have to write an original story. We don't give a shit about originality. Story. It doesn't have to be so amazing. It just has to be interesting, and it has to, just be a good story. Almost more than anything is the storyline can carry you through. But, like they'll talk about the structure of it and how, for a person to even recognize that it's a story, it helps to have these certain items. It helps for it to go in this certain order where you meet their character and you meet their big challenge, and then they grow from their big challenge, and then they come back home, and then they go back out different and changed, and then they bring it all back in the end. Anyway, that loop is like
we don't know that loop, so thank you for telling us that. So is there anything else you know about that you talked about in 10 seconds?
I think that's everything.
I love you. So what would you say, like, because we're all dealing with our own little or big stops, when it comes to writing. And so what do you think stops you from, is it the feeling like you can't write something original that stops you?
Just that if it's fiction, it's just that my writing sucks. That stops me. The feeling that what I'm writing.
Interesting point of view, because it's so good.
I don't know about the fiction, it's but the journalism is. I don't feel stopped writing journalism or feature stuff because I know how to do it and I know I do it well. Which I could know about other ways of writing if I would just do the work.
Right.
It's just about doing the work, and I guess my motivations aren't bigger than my.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah. What was the question?
I don't know.
It was. I lost it.
Yeah, me too. So, like, if you were gonna, So, if you were going to, I guess, talk to a group of us about writing, what would you say?
I guess I would start by asking you about your writing and what you like to write, and what you wanted to write, and I guess all that stuff in between. I'm definitely more interested in what other people want to write than just saying, like, here's how you write. I don't know. It's like, here's how you write. Here's how you think. Here's how to think.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. And it doesn't work that way. And there's no way how I think is exactly how you think anyway. But I mean, for specific topics, I could probably come up with something.
Yeah. No, cool. That was a great answer. Did you see the chat? Linda had a question for you. Did you write even before you took any courses?
Sort of. I never, I don't know, I sort of, and I also am terrible at remembering things I've actually done.
Welcome to the club.
Like, there are just like years of my life that I could probably tell you one or two things that happened. But I think I wrote some on my own, or I would do like the occasional blogging or just playing, it was as much about playing around with the software as it was about writing, I think.
Wait, you did a lot of reading.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and I remember when I read Stephen King's book, he said, I don't know, maybe it wasn't him, but somebody said, a writer writes, but they also read.
Yes, they always say you have to read. Like it's like one of the fundamental laws of writing.
Yeah, and I know that in our family, like we all did. We all read like stupendous amounts of material, and we all came away with like these very different writing skills, but all of us can write. And
yes.
That's when I look at that, I'm like, oh, we were readers. That's what we did. It's like we absorbed and absorbed and absorbed and absorbed and absorbed, and and we all came out with our very own I actually remember a blog that you and Ethan is our other brother. I'm the oldest of 5, so there's quite a few of us. And Ethan and Bryce went on this trip to New York and wrote this fucking hilarious blog about that trip. And I wish I knew where it was. Do you know where it is?
I have no idea where it is, but for some reason, I still have the images from the blog stored on.
And there was something about a beaver, and so I don't even know. But I remember reading that blog, and I just died. I was crying. I was laughing so hard. Like, it was so funny. So yeah. So did you write before you took? No, but you read like a ton.
Yeah, I read it. And can I just say that I read Game of Thrones when I was in high school, and it was not cool, and I got really made fun of. And the fact that it's like super cool right now, it just really annoys me. I like paid a price for that. Anyway, yeah, so we read a ton. And so we had like this little blog, but it was never anything I was very serious about. And even in college, I've always been pretty good at writing, I guess. I don't really know why. Maybe it was probably the reading, probably almost guaranteed to be the reading. And so in college, that really helped out. I didn't take like a traditional college route, so if you didn't either, you're fine.
No, none of us did.
Yeah, so, but just in my college classes, so my papers were pretty good, and that piqued the attention of a professor, and I became an editor, and then I got an internship, and I became a reporter, and then I got my own website, and now I'm freelancing. But, so I guess I wrote before I took any courses. It was nothing I was trying to accomplish anything with. Do I see my writing as different now? It's definitely better now. I definitely know more about the craft now, if I can call it the craft. If so, what did you pick up as a tool that you use, if anything, that gets things moving for you? Nothing immediately springs to mind, but I would definitely start with being interested in whatever you're writing about.
That's a huge tool.
It's a huge tool.
If I'm not interested in it, it doesn't get written about. It's very simple.
Yeah. I mean, as far as actual tools, I've got thesaurus bookmarked, and I'm always constantly searching words to see if I'm spelling them right or using them in the right context or that kind of thing. But I don't know about other tools.
Mm-hmm. But really finding that piece or whatever that interests you. And if it doesn't, finding the facet that does.
Yeah. I think, in whatever you're writing about, there's going to be lots of it. And then some of it's going to be interesting and some of it's not going to be interesting. So find this part that's interesting, be drawn in by it. And then you're going to communicate that interest. And then you're also going to include everything else about that should be included, whatever it is. But you can really, kind of go a long way on the interesting part and decide that the part that's interesting to you is going to be the part that's interesting in the story.
Yeah. And what I love about what you said is that all of us see the world so very differently. So like you and I could go, and we have this experience with our childhood, you and I could go to the same event and come away and write something about it. And we would have very different things to say about it because the way we see things and the things that interest us are so very different.
Oh, completely different. We could all write about this chat and every single one would be different. And then we'd all wonder if we were in the same chat room.
Exactly. Yeah. And actually, I think that I get that that's the gift of it all. Like, we're all so unique and have our own. Oh, and that's another question I had for you. A lot of times in these groups and in conversations, people talk about wanting to find their voice.
Yeah.
What's the conversation around that you would have?
My first interaction with that was being told by the newspaper that I had a natural voice and that I was lucky. So another thing I don't have a good answer for. I don't know. Voice is an interesting thing. It's like, if it's there, you recognize it. If it's not, there's a lot like that.
Well,
I don't know. I guess voice is sort of an honesty.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, that's kind of what I was noticing is people have always said that too about my writing. And I'm like, well, I'm just really vulnerable. Well, I use the word vulnerable, you use honesty, but with where I'm at. Like,
you definitely have a voice. I mean, even this post in this event, that thing you wrote is, it's very you. So, I mean, if you're getting feedback that you don't have a voice, A, tell that person to fuck off. But B, it probably means that you might even be feeling it yourself. You don't know what you're necessarily feeling confident in what you're doing. So what you write might be a little stiff, or you might be doing what you think would go in this part or something. And there's definitely some structure to good writing. There's definitely a part where you do, where you learn how to do certain things right. But like
can I stop you right there? Actually, maybe we'll come back to this. Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna write it down.
But the part that matters to other people, or the part that's going to grab other people, is the part that you give to it. So if you're not giving anything to this thing on the page, no one's going to get anything out of it because there's nothing in it. And I think that might be what voice is.
Yeah, I love that. Like, and that's I was talking the other day about like doing writing as opposed to being in your writing. It's like, I remember I went through a time where I was trying to do writing, like be more like, I don't know, Orson Scott Card, or be more, like write like the classics or whatever. And it never flowed. Like until I just started, for me, the journey started with Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, where I started doing morning pages, where I actually just started free writing whatever was in my head, which was a bunch of dribble until like the last page or so, which was then like elated dribble. I don't know. But, but it started
I'm really clicking now.
I was really going. Yeah. And none of my morning page journals came with me in the move. They were like, there wasn't even anything to read there. But what got created from that was a couple of things. Cause actually I realized through my childhood, like I didn't talk a lot. Like I wasn't a talker. So I didn't have a lot of that practice, like forming sentences, which sounds bizarre, but I just didn't. And so the morning pages for me actually allowed my thoughts to come out. They allowed them to be on paper. And then as I just kept consistently doing it, which is that consistently writing thing that we talk about every single day, I realized that I actually could do it, and I had thoughts, and I could do it.
Yeah. I think a huge hallmark of good writing is just self-confidence. And I say just self-confidence, even though self-confidence seems to be like one of the biggest battles you can have with yourself. But I mean, it helps to do it over and over, where you just get used to it. And through that, you can sort of trick yourself into being confident, or at least used to it. Just feeling comfortable in your own skin. You can tell on the page. You can tell anything on the page about another person's brain, kind of no matter what. So it's very vulnerable. So you just go for it. It's kind of like you got nothing to lose. If you don't go for it, it's going to suck worse. If it doesn't suck, if you go for it, it'll suck way less. It's your writing anything.
Hey, Bryce, I'm going to bring this clip back to you when it comes to writing fiction. I just want you to know.
I know.
This is about to bite you in the ass in a really good way.
Yeah, but you have to try.
Yeah, cool. Can you talk just a little bit, because we're sort of getting to the end, I guess, but about, you mentioned a couple of times about structure, like the structure of what you're writing, and you have to, it's like you've talked about it a few times, where you've got to like kind of learn the structure that works, or can you talk a little bit more about that, or what that is, or?
And I mostly know it in a journalistic sense, but you could sort of look at it as like, there's your lead, which is sort of your interesting thought that's drawing someone in, and then you might have like an explanatory graph or paragraph. I got the lingo, so your paragraph, and then, but it's just about, to me, structure is just things have to make sense. Like you need to have introduced this person and told me why I should give a shit about them before you're going to tell me something else that's only going to matter if I already give a shit about them.
I love that.
And if you get that out of order, I am halfway into your piece and I don't give a shit about any of it. But just structure alone can help save a lot of that. And, and if it's really long, you're kind of saying, you're asking the reader to spend some time with you. So if you're sort of flying through details, you need not to. You need to unpack these things, because we're already agreeing to spend this time with you. So tell me what's interesting about this, and paint me this scene. And that's another thing they say you can do. You can go in scenes. So you can, I guess that's more in fiction, but
go there.
Yeah, I guess that's, just the structure matters, but it would depend on the piece for me to say, this is how you structure it. But
well, cool, but just in general. So talk more about the scenes.
I don't know if I have much more than that. It's like you would think of something as a scene, and then you would come into the scene, and you would have your dialogue, and hopefully you're showing people what is interesting, instead of just telling them. Instead of just telling them this dude is like, really, he's got PTSD. You're showing him up at night, pulling a gun on his wife in his sleep or something. Which is obviously more interesting than saying the dude got PTSD. But there needs to be some structure to it. There needs to be some reason to care about what you're writing about, and it needs to make sense. It needs to be coherent. It needs to be spelled right. It needs to be punctuated right. And shorter sentences are going to get you further than sort of long, artsy, whatever the hell's.
That's huge. You just you could do a whole class on. You don't even know what you just said there.
I just regurgitated every writing tip I've heard.
Brilliant. Yeah. And actually, as you were talking, I realized that that's when my like, I do a lot of my stuff on Facebook. So when my Facebook posts have a lot of attention, it's because I've been real, I've been me, and I've structured it in a way that actually pulls them in and then takes them on a journey. And I've actually not had a lot of words to describe what that is, because I just do it in a way that I would want to read it.
Cool. That's cool.
So
Yeah, it's great. Great to be able just to do it.
Yeah. But no, it's really helpful to have the words to it too. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
Does anybody else have anything before we sort of wrap up here? Like around any of it? Writing for money, writing in general, writing, being.
There's not that much money in it for whatever it's worth. And less all the time, so. I guess not.
I guess not. Cool. Bryce, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for coming and for the questions and for having me.
Yeah, and you're in the Facebook group for the next couple of weeks. So, like, if you guys have any questions about anything, just feel free to tag Bryce in a post and engage. And Bryce, feel free to chat us up and whatever you. If you'd like to post a fiction story for the next 2 weeks, every single day, I'm not saying that it's you. I don't know if you can, but if you were able to, we would be happy to read it.
Thank you. See, it's a block. I can't get past it right now. But,
well, everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, online shorts, boys and beyond.
It's gonna nod.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight, and thank you, Bryce. And if anybody's watching this in the future, you can find Bryce at the RockyMountainFoodReport.com, or you can Google him. He is in the archives at the Colorado. You can the Colorado Springs,
Twitter and Facebook.
and he's phenomenal and funny. And if you're looking for a freelance writer or a writer of fiction, you can find him Bryce Crawford on Facebook and Twitter and all that. So.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Christel.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Bryce.
Thanks so much.
Definitely.
Nice to meet you, Bryce.
Oh, very nice to meet you. Everybody be well.
Bye for now.